Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another video. Please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and hit the notification bell so you will be updated on all my future content. So in this live stream, I'm going to be taking some of the answers from my last live stream and reducing them to lowest terms. So we have to figure out what 15/27 equals if we were to reduce that to lowest terms. So the key to reducing a fraction to lowest terms is dividing the numerator and the denominator by the greatest common factor. So before I can divide, I got to determine the greatest common factor between 15 and 27. I already sort of know what the greatest common factor is, but for those that don't, I'm going to list all the factors out here. So for 15, we have 1, we have 15, we have 1, we have 27. 2 is not a factor of either number. We have 3, and we have 5. Then for 27, we have 3, and we have 9. Four is not a factor of either number. 6 is not a factor of either number. 7 is not a factor for either number. So we are good to go. So these are the factors of 15 and 27, and we have to look for the greatest common factor. Now, even though the greatest factor listed is 27, 27 is not a factor of 15. 15 is not a factor of 27. Even though 9 is a factor of 27, 9 is not a factor of 15. Even though 5 is a factor of 15, 5 is not a factor of 27. The greatest common factor between 15 and 27 is 3. That's the biggest factor that both 15 and 27 have in common. So that is what we need to divide by. So we're going to do 15 divided by 3. And 27 divided by 3. We are dividing the numerator and the denominator by 3. 15 divided by 3 equals 5. 27 divided by 3 equals 9. And we have our final answer. 15/27 reduced to lowest terms equals 5/9. All right, moving on to the next example. Shout out to everybody tuning in. Please hit the like button. It really helps the algorithm. All right, 8/24. Need to convert 8/24 to lowest term. So we are going to do the same thing. We got to find the greatest common factor between 8 and 24. So I'm going to list the factors of each. So the factors of 8 are 1 and 8, 2 and 4. The factors of 24 are 1, 24, 2, 12, 3 and 8, and 4 and 6. So now we got to look for not the biggest factor, but the biggest common factor, the biggest number that's common between 8 and 24. Even though 24 is the biggest number listed and 12 is the second biggest number listed, 12 is not a factor of 8. 24 is not a factor of 8. So the greatest common factor here let's see, 8 is a factor of 8, and 8 is a factor of 24. So 8 is the greatest common factor. So we are going to divide the numerator and the denominator by 8. 8 divided by 8, and 24 divided by 8. Here we go. 8 divided by 8 equals 1. 24 divided by 8 equals 3. And we have our final answer. 8/24 reduced to lowest terms equals 1/3. I think there was one additional problem where that wasn't reduced to lowest terms. I'm trying to remember what it was. I'm trying to think. In the chat, if you were on my last live stream and you remember the fraction that was not reduced to lowest terms, put that in the chat. I think there was one left. There's one left. I'm trying to remember what it was. So we have 8/24, we have 15/27. Oh, I remember it now. 34/40. So I got to find the greatest common factor between 34 and 40. So factors of 34, we have 2. Oh, first and foremost, we have 1 and 34. 1 is a factor of every number. 1 is a factor of every number other than 0 if you don't count 0 as a number. But we have 1, we have 34, we have 2, we have 17. Three is not a factor of 34. 4 is not a factor of 34. 5 is not a factor. 6 is not a factor of 34. 7 is not a factor of 34. 8 is not a factor of 34. 9 is not a factor. 10 is not a factor. Okay. So we got our factors of 34. Now factors of 40 here. So we have 1 and 40. We have 2 and 20. 3 is not a factor of 40. We have 4 and we have 10. We have 5 and we have 8. 6 is not a factor of 40. 7 is not a factor of 40. 9 is not a factor. Okay, we have all our factors here. So the greatest common factor between 40 and 34 is 2. Now, even though there's a lot of factors listed that are bigger than 2, there's not any common factors that are bigger than 2. For example, 17 is a factor of 34, but it is not a factor of 40. 20 is a factor of 40, but it is not a factor of 34. The greatest common factor is 2. So 2 is what we need to divide by here. So we need to do 34 divided by 2 and 40 divided by 2. So 34 divided by 2 equals 17. 40 divided by 2 equals 20. And we have our final answer. 34/40 reduced to lowest terms equals 17/20. And on that note, God is good. Christ is King. And that is my live stream. Let me know what you thought of it. Let me know what you thought of the video. Leave a comment. And also, if there was an area of math or reading that you're having difficulty with, put that in the comments, and I will do a future video on that skill. Until next time, I'm Mr. Camilleri, and this is the Mr. Camilleri Show.